Today's session is called Change the Way You See Yourself. And this is about regaining that place of inner peace and mastery over our thoughts or emotions so that we can transform the way we see ourselves and also the way that we relate. And our special guest presenter today is a specialist in relationships and emotional intelligence. She's also a #1 best-selling author, Louise Armstrong. Hello, Louise.
Hello. Lovely introduction, and it's a real honour and a privilege to be here tonight. Thank you.
It's an absolute delight. I'll ask you to speak up a little bit if possible.
Yeah,
And why don't you just go right in and share your beautiful wisdom? I know you've written a book about this topic as well, so why don't you lead us in your expert way?
yeah, sure. The book is actually called Change How You See Yourself Today, and I truly believe that all of us are absolutely wonderful, perfect human beings. It's just the perspective we have of ourselves and show up in the world with a better view, with the true version who we are, without carrying our own baggage. And it's a bit like putting on a new pair of glasses, and so that you can relate to those people who are important to you in a very different way. You can actually see those people for who they are and not who they are projecting themselves to be. And it's truly only from this place that you can create a different future. And so I've based a group program in my private therapy and my book on this concept.
And this is based very much in your own personal experience as well as your professional experience working with people over the years. Um, why would someone project something different than what they are? How does that happen?
It really happens through repetition. And when we're very, very small, especially under the age of 7, we basically develop all of our programs, well, about 97, 98% of our programs. And these programs drive your thoughts, your actions, and your behaviors. It isn't your conscious mind. It's only effective for about 3%. I thought it was about 5%. It's actually 3%, so they say. Anyway, it's really, really small. And so these programs, many of them probably aren't yours. And this is where we get the true value of the self. So we can ask ourselves, is this truly the way, what aligns with me? What brings me joy? What makes me feel good? And so we can then start to live a life with our own programs and not programs that were given to us mostly out of the best intent as well. People do not intend actually to go out and hurt you. It's just that this is the way they have been brought up, perhaps, or this is their repetitive behavior. So it's all about those repetitive programs, and they become part of you. So you don't think about them, they're just automatic programs.
Mm. Could you give us some example? Also, considering the present situation, now we're under a lot of stress with all these measures and the fear and the anxiety that's coming up. What might such a pattern look like, and what could we do about it?
Right, so I think all of us today will be feeling we've got less control. So that's the first thing. When a human being really, really wants control over what they do in their life, they want to be able to do what they want within certain boundaries. So most of us will have lost this control. And because we are living in such an insecure world, we don't actually know when things are going to end. We don't know when we can start working normally again, or children back to school. We're given timelines and stuff. And what this does is this triggers your own insecurities inside of you, and it really exacerbates any anxieties that you've been holding on to that perhaps don't show up on a regular basis, are now really coming to the surface. And you might see in the news that mental health is a big issue, and people, the domestic abuse has gone up, the divorce rate. I'm not quite sure how that works because everybody's at home, so I don't know how they say the divorce rate's gone up. But so people are really, really suffering now from what is happening. But it's really what is truly happening is these external triggers are actually triggering what you already have. So they're already triggering your own anxieties that are already, inside of you. If you don't feel control in your own life and you don't have that freedom of speech, and this is now happening in your physical world, it'll make it 10 times worse. It really will.
So what could a person do?
Okay. So the first thing is to really understand that no one has any power over you. No one can make you happy or sad or feel anxious or angry. No one can make you feel anything. So all that's happening is that emotion is inside of you and it's being triggered. So the first thing we want to really look at is we want to know what to change. So a great way to start this is to start some journaling and to really just journal your thoughts down, and you will see a pattern. You will honestly see a pattern, how you wake up in the morning, if it's the news triggering you, is it your husband doing this, is it your partner, is it your boyfriend or your girlfriend that you can't see. You will really begin to see what is really affecting you, and it's from that place that you can heal. You begin to feel very empowered because you can do something about it. If you believe that someone else has this hand, someone else is making you upset or anxious or unhappy, there's nothing you can do about it. You rely on that person and you actually try and control that person or the situation in some kind of way. So that's the really first bit of understanding, is to take that control back for yourself. And if you are feeling, everything is, really making you very, very worried in this world today, come back to a very grounding place that you actually have all that you need. Everything else is really a want. And so all that we need is, we need to make connections with people. So there will be hopefully some people in your life who you love and love you, even though you can't see them. That's the first thing. We need a roof over our head, we need clothing, and we need food and water. And if we have those basic needs, if those very, very basic needs are met, that is the place to grow from. And so that we start to come from this place of gratitude that we are going to be okay. We do have enough in our lives. And I have some clients who actually have that written down as a reminder that actually it is okay. They are okay. They do have these things which are the very, very basic needs of life.
Back to basics then. I can imagine someone could be feeling very justified in experiencing fear, for example, for their lives even, or for the lives of a loved one, especially elderly, for example, people who are working in hospitals. But you're saying that we can be in charge of how we react. So yes, it's possible to be very fearful and anxious. It's also possible to feel more, calm or peaceful? What would you say to that?
If we talk about fear, fear is a primal response. So we are always going to feel fear, and fear is actually there for you. Fear is really there to keep you safe. It stops you walking out in front of a bus. It stops you putting your hand on a hot stove. It stops you, walking up to a man-eating tiger, for example. So fear is there to keep you safe, to stop you doing things so that you don't become, endangered and your life is not threatened. So it's not that we want to run away from fear or hide from it or push it away or pretend it's not there. We actually want to start facing the fear. And if we talk about the fear of perhaps our own lives, of us getting sick or our loved ones, etc., what we can do with that fear is to make sure that we are taking all the precautions that we can, to keep ourselves safe and to impart that information, onto our loved ones. So that's the first thing we can do, is to check that we are, washing our hands, etc., keeping, the distance, etc. And then we can look beyond what is happening right now, and we look to a life after this virus. So we can look beyond, when this is past, and life will get back, or it will never return the same, I don't believe, but we will start living a different way of life. And so I think it's really, really important that we are able to project and start creating with your mind. So you start seeing yourself as healthy, you start seeing your loved ones as healthy, you know, a healthy picture in your mind, because this will raise your vibration. And as your vibration rate rises, you feel better about yourself. It's then you're going to then project better energy towards your loved ones as well.
Yes, I'm reminded of Viktor Frankl and his big message around having meaning, and this sense of meaning in life and some purpose beyond the present crisis can help us to move forward in a more positive way, not only to survive but also to do something creative and very, very positive indeed. Um, so you mentioned this coming back to basics and also taking control of our thoughts, focusing on something more positive, something in the future, something that has meaning to us. Um, Meditation I can think of. What other practical tools have you used, and what other difficult emotions might somebody be dealing with? We spoke about fear. What else might somebody be feeling? Grief, for example, and how would they deal with that?
Mhm. So I think one of the most powerful tools is actually your breath. Just purely breathing can really help you to really calm your state. And that's for many different reasons, but the main reasons really are because it signals to the mind that you are actually in control of an automated response. So it tells your mind that you are in control. And it also gives you something to focus on and your brain some extra oxygen. So a good breath to practice if you're feeling really anxious or upset is the 4-7-8 breath. And so you breathe in for the count of 4, you hold it for the count of 7, and you breathe out for the count of 8. And you continue to do that until you feel calm, until your state of mind is in a lot, you know, in a much calmer place. And then you can simply bring a positive thought to mind, and that will change your state of being. And the more you do that, the more easily you'll just do it like that. You won't have to think about it. So it's a very small exercise. It's very quick, it's very simple, but it's a good one to practice. You know, it's an easy one to do from home. If you're feeling, you mentioned grief, is this around anything in particular there?
Well, some people do lose loved ones. Also, some people lose jobs. Some people just feel the loss of the normalcy of life and a certain, loss of what used to be.
I think it's really, really important to express it. I mean, just from the job front, my husband has lost his job and unlikely to return because
Mm.
of the state of the airline industry. I think it's gone for good, so he's unlikely to return. So there is, I think it's to acknowledge those feelings. It's okay to feel really upset. It's okay to cry. It's okay to feel angry. You know, you're going to be swamped with, you know, an insurgence of emotions, and it's okay. And we need to express these in a healthy way. So if you want to cry, cry. If you want to scream, get it out of you. If you're feeling particularly angry, because anger can come up a lot with this sense of loss, you know, we're not taught to express our emotions when we're little. Our negative emotions, we're taught to, you know, bash them down inside of us. It's not nice to behave like that or feel angry or frustration or resentment or jealousy. You know, we really are not taught this. But all emotions, they're energy balls. They need to move. And so if you're feeling angry, write it out or go and hit a pillow. Just go and thump it out of you. Or if no one else is around, because you mustn't hurt anyone else, you can go and scream it out. But it is really good to recognize the emotions, and it's okay, and reach out to someone. Do not stay alone. You really don't have to be alone. There are so many, you know, different organizations if you haven't got family or friends to reach out to. And I would welcome anyone reaching out to me, absolutely. I would hate to feel of anyone alone. It's really, really important that we have someone, you know, we can reach out to.
Very important indeed. Thinking of anger, I find some exercise can help
Yeah,
inside the house, just getting, even running on the spot or jogging, just something quite active can help release some of that energy. Now, there are situations when people are in quarantine together with a partner that they normally live with, or maybe with someone that they don't live with normally. Sometimes also a child, for example, comes back home for the quarantine, and the child doesn't normally live with the parents or the parent. So in situations like this, what kind of challenges might arise out of being together in close proximity for a longer time than usual?
yes, this is actually very common, and people can get very irritable. They're used to having their own space, and they're not used to other people's habits. I mean, there's so many. Actually, some quite funny things I've seen. People's blinking is becoming really annoying, really frustrating. um, with the other person. So I think it's acknowledging that, even when you go away on holiday for 2 weeks and you're not used to being with your partner or your family, there are a lot of frayed tempers where people are used to doing their own thing in a certain way and they're used to having their own space, and all of a sudden, wham, bam, not only am I sleeping with this man, he's working. I know some couples that he's working in the bedroom as well. I mean, he's literally living in the bedroom. That's his office now.
Yeah.
And it is extremely difficult. So the first thing is you really need your own space, and you mark that out very, very clearly, that this is my hour, and I'm going to read, I'm going to meditate, I'm going to exercise, I'm going to do whatever. I don't want anyone in this space. So if you can, it is so important that you do have your own space. If it's to have a bath, if you can go out to have a walk. And secondly, you must have clear boundaries in place. It's not up to you to start telling people what to do and, order people around and expect everyone to run around you. But when you have a clear boundary in place, what happens is you don't react to that person in that way, and it's not going to upset you so much. So it is very, very important. And that's why we're finding, people are, I don't know where this people are falling out a lot more, which is understandable. I mean, I don't believe anyone can sit in four walls and not get out and exercise. I really don't, for any length of time. We all have to get outside if we can. We really do, rain or shine.
Mm. We do actually have a question about boundaries. Okay, so this is the question. I would really appreciate some insights on how to have stronger, healthier boundaries. I struggle with my family of origin via phone, FaceTime, and also my husband and stepdaughter who's moved in with us for lockdown. So we have the distance relationship with the family and then the being close together. How could somebody have stronger boundaries if they haven't learned how to do that? What could they do?
So very few of us are actually taught boundaries. And
Yeah.
boundaries are really, I look at them as like they're your standards, what's important to you. And you have to be very, very clear before you even try to, get someone else to understand your boundary. You've got to be so clear yourself. What is it, what do you expect? What are you prepared to put up with? you know so get very, very clear in the first instance of what is acceptable for you. Super, super clear. And if there's going to be a change in the way you speak to someone, or behaviorally, or the way something is happening within the home or within your space, do not expect that other person to like it. Human beings do not like change. So the boundary is for you. But when you deliver it, and it's very important, the delivery of a boundary is with love. It's not to annoy someone else or to get up on someone else or one up on someone else. Or it is there for you and you alone. So don't have that expectation for that other person to like it. They've got to get used to it. We have to give them time to get used to that new way of you talking or behaving or whatever it is you want. But the This thing is, you have to be so clear, because often people are not clear. They've got very grey, very grey lines around their boundaries, and that gives a very grey message to that person. And I'll just introduce here that communication, we've got many forms of communicating with people, but I truly believe, and I know you do as well, Eleanor, it's our energy. It's the deepest form of communication, and how someone feels in your presence that's going to be how that is how they're going to go away from that conversation, whether it's on the phone, if it's a distance, or whether it's with you in the house. So remember, it's your energy that you are always projecting. It isn't the spoken word, which does play a part in your behavior even more so, but it's really how you're feeling. So if you feel really annoyed when you're putting that boundary in place, that is the message you're giving that person. Whereas the boundary is for you, because these are my standards. It's like you saying, these are my standards, these are my values, this is how I live my life by. My life by. It's not that I don't like you, it's not that it's got nothing to do with that. It's these are mine, they're very much yours, and we need to own them. Does that help?
Yeah, so for example, say somebody needs a physical space for a certain amount of time, just to recharge or center or release some emotion. How would they say it? How would they put it? Okay, so I would like to have the living room to myself for the next hour without being disturbed. And should a person then explain, because I really need to release some anger that I have safely, for example. Is that a good idea? Does a person need to justify why?
No, in my opinion, I think it's brilliant to come from the word I, not, can you move out, and because I need this space right now. I always like to say, come from the word I, because it's what you want. I would really like this, this space. And know that it weakens your resolve, it weakens your message by justifying it and say, well, I'm only going to be half an hour, and I really need to do this, and la 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 la. You've lost the whole message. So I always say, unless that person asks you directly, well, what do you want the lounge for? Then you can say it, because it hasn't weakened your message. So it needs to be a very clear, strong message, just like you delivered there. I would like the lounge from 10 till 11 this morning, and then that person will come back with it.
That's it, full stop. And not go into, and if you disturb me, I will. No, none of that. No justification, no horrible consequences, or anything like this. A bit of humor here, I think, helps, but I think it's good to have an idea. And practice makes perfect, right? To come from the heart, and also not to be very demanding, but more from a place of presence. Yeah, the energy that you were talking about. Um, all right. How can we support someone that we're with in this quarantine situation, for example, if they're emotional, or if both of us are emotional? What can we do? How can we manage ourselves then? Do you have some techniques that you can share with us?
When you say emotional, what if you've got
So supposing I'm really stressed and anxious, and my partner's starting to get angry because I'm stressing too much, and I'm going wired. So now he's angry and I'm stressed. What do we do?
no, no.
And then I'm angry, or and then he's stressed.
Definitely, before we can help anyone else, we have to look after ourselves first. So we have to be able to calm ourselves down, and then so you can either get rid of that anger, whether that's journaling, whether that's punching out of a pillow, whether that is talking aloud, shouting aloud. You've got to get it out of you first. This is you looking after you, and then fill yourself up again. Ground yourself with realizing that you do have what you need. Take a moment. If you can't feel gratitude, just look around and just notice what is around in your immediate surroundings. You might just notice your chair, the table, the carpet you're standing on. Just really get yourself present again, because you're not going to be any use to anyone else if you're angry. You're just going to raise the levels there. So look after yourself first. Release some of that. Acknowledge it. It's okay. It's absolutely, you're a human being. You know, it's a normal primal response to feel anger. If you pent it up, you'll end up, this will just keep popping up throughout the day. And then it's really important, I believe, to meet that other person where they are. Don't tell them not to be stressed and try and cheer them up. But when you meet someone when they are, you don't try and take any of it away. It's then when they feel met, they feel understood, it's then that you can help them calming down with either your soothing voice or just letting them talk. Just let them talk it out. Just let them talk it out. And you can, change the subject if that helps for them. But the main thing I really want to get across is meet them where they are. Don't try and take it away from them.
I think you have a great point there. And what I have found is that it's very hard to have a conversation and talk it out when we are very emotional, because the words don't adequately present any kind of logical argument. They're really emotional outbursts, aren't they? So it's good not to take it personally, I would say, and just let it all come out and see if we can just maybe listen to one another and not try to solve it through conversation, but just be there for each other and then maybe come back to it when we're less emotional, if we're going to have a discussion. I have a little phrase that I sometimes use with a partner. If I'm emotional or he's emotional, we just say, I'm emotional. I'm emotional, and then we know that okay, that it's maybe best not to try and talk a lot, which is maybe a little bit harder for women because we want to talk. Men maybe more naturally will want to take time with their emotions, not talk them out. Um, so that's one little technique I use, and yes, presence. Hopefully that gives everyone some ideas. Another question for you, Louise, and this links to another question that we've received. Okay, so this is from um, someone who says, I'm in a long-term relationship with a beautiful woman on the other side of the city. Okay, she's living at her home with her kids, and I'm in my home on my own. So, how can I deepen and empower my relationship with my beloved on the other side of the city? What wasn't mentioned was any sense of loneliness or loss, but I'm imagining there could be some of that too.
Yeah, especially if they're used to seeing each other on a regular basis.
Yeah.
Changed everything for them. Yeah, so we have, I mean, first of all, we have lots of different ways of communicating. So obviously the connection, whether it's WhatsApp, messaging, phone, Skype, whatever, Zoom, whatever connection it is. I think video is a brilliant connection. I think it would be wonderful to do as much video connection to keep that going. I know some couples, and I used to do a lot of couples counseling when I was based in Dubai. They would watch on their iPad together the same program. So and it just felt that they weren't so alone. They would have a glass of wine together. Um, so definitely keep that connection and remember that your partner will only be as good as you see them in your mind's eye. So when you remember them, really remember, when you're thinking about them in a really positive way, and you will actually, they will feel that energetic connection because that is what energy is. It isn't just limited to your apartment or to your house. When you feel that love or that happiness or that joy or that connection for that person, they will feel it. So I think it's important not to get too sad and too lost, to keep that high vibration up with that person and to start planning. This is so important. What you guys are going to do when this thing ends, when we all can run out and, get back to parks and exercising and socializing and stuff. It is going to happen. We just don't know when. And as human beings, we want to, we like everything really tangible. We want to know when. Give me a date and I can work with it. But because we haven't got finite dates yet, it causes more stress. But I would really start looking at your life beyond, start making some plans. And this may be a fantastic time for you also to make really good friends with yourself, because during this time where some of us have got more time, where we are able to reflect, we can heal some of those wounds, some of those bits that are really hurting us in life. And so it might be some time, you might be able to take some time for yourself as well, so that you do have a stronger relationship with your partner. So we can use that time very proactively.
Yes, I guess people will be missing physical intimacy in such situations, and there will be a lot of touch deprivation, I'm guessing, as well. Um, shall we give ourselves hugs? What can we do? I guess so.
You can't replace human touch, can you? I
Yeah.
mean, you can't replace it. My husband used to work away from home 6 months at a time, which was a long time to be apart from someone. And it is tough. It is tough. We can't replace that, but you can keep, because of the internet, you can keep the connection going. It won't be the same. It will not be the same physical connection, but the energetic connection, definitely you can keep that going. And the emotional connection, absolutely. You can feel very strong emotions over.
This this could also be an opportunity for people in a relationship to explore other aspects of the relationship, perhaps get to know each other in a deeper way, but also in a broader way. So perhaps there was one main area that was the strongest, let's say the physical, or maybe there was a common interest that the people shared, and now there's an opportunity to learn other aspects of that person's life or interests, or also a greater depth of the thoughts and emotions. What would you say to that?
Yeah, no, definitely. And I love that idea, without a doubt, because there is always so much to learn, about the other person, and perhaps new interests that they're finding, they're having to find online. You actually have to start really thinking in a different way. Now we're in different environment, and it's wonderful to discuss those things. You might find somebody never really baked cakes before, and now they're baking cakes.
Yeah. New talents emerging. And I guess a lot of us are asking ourselves all those important questions. What really matters to me? What is important to me? Back to the title for this session, how do I want to be? How do I want to see myself? How do I want to live my life? And perhaps we're making some new decisions and reinventing ourselves. Um, how would we negotiate that in relationship? I imagine it could be that we find we have um, different values maybe emerging, or different wishes for the future, or maybe we can find a more compatible path forward. Do you think this would be a consideration for people?
I think it's a fantastic time. I think it is absolutely the best time, really, for us to be better versions of ourselves, to really ask ourselves. It's a real curiosity, questioning time. You know, who is it? What makes me feel joy? Because what makes me angry? What do I want in life? As your values are so important. If you don't know your core values, and that's really, really what's the utmost importance to you, it's very difficult to make decisions in life. And so now is the best time to really start learning about you and what is important in a relationship and why. And some relationships could well fade away, and it's not that there's any big fallout. Nothing has to be mean or nasty or anything like that, but it could just be that you find out this is what I really, really want in life, and that this is truly, truly for me. And you could, on the other hand, find yourself really enriching relationships as you come together through your growth. But I think for all of us, when you feel, in alignment with yourself, which means that you're thinking in the same way that you're acting, if you're like, you're not having that internal argument all the time with yourself, which so many of us do, life is so much more peaceful, because it's actually quite hard being a human being. It's quite difficult navigating this internal stuff that you're navigating as well. It's really stressful. So I don't think there's any better time than now, because most of us are slowed down to some degree, and we do have more time.
Yes, it's well, I liken it to a truth serum, the situation. It's really putting a highlight on what's what in us and in our relationships, and this can be very raw, it can be very enriching. And I personally practice compassion, self-compassion with whatever comes up, so that I can just allow it to be, and gradually work my way through to the other side. Louise, any further comments, any final message for us in the absence of further questions?
I think the final thing is, if you are suffering in any way in a relationship, with your health or with your money, and regardless of the situation you are in right now, and regardless of what sort of childhood you've had, you can absolutely change the way you see yourself and the way you feel and the way you show up. Because what we do know now through science, through neuroscience, is the mind is totally malleable, which means it is changeable. You are not born with any of these programs or these feelings. They have just developed, you've learnt them. So the wonderful thing is you can unlearn them. So if you are suffering, my big key message is don't stay alone. This is way too hard to do by yourself. So reach out to someone, reach out. Yeah, and stay safe and stay well.
Stay safe, stay well, stay connected. Thank you very much for joining us today for this special session. Thank you so much, Louise. It's been amazing to connect with you, and thank you for sharing your wisdom and your very, very positive energy once more.
Thank you so much for having me. Thank you so much.
Have a great night, everybody, and I'll see you again next time. Thank you. Thank you.